Well, assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Wright. I'm the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and I'm delighted to welcome you for this open house session for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences at Hamad bin Khalifa University. This open house is an opportunity for you as prospective applicants to begin your journey and learn more about what programs we can offer. You can pose questions to our faculty who are overseeing our programs, and then learn more about our degree programs as so you can actually apply to them and join us hopefully starting in fall 2025. So in terms of the way how we'll proceed, you'll have an opportunity to interact with our speakers, and you can do that through the chat session in the application. But in terms of the agenda about how we'll be proceeding in today's open house, firstly we'll be having a short introductory remarks from the provost of the university, Dr. Ala Fukaha, and then after that we'll move on to giving you some information about our college, our community, before actually then we move on to talking about each of our graduate programs. And then after that we'll be able to hear from our admissions office about the process for admissions, and as well as that some information about student affairs. So I just want to remind you all that your lines will be muted until the end of the session, and please put your questions in the chat box for the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. But we can begin now by having a video from the provost of the university, who will give us some introductory remarks before we can move on to talking about the college.
Dear prospective students, welcome to Hamad bin Khalifa University HBKU, and congratulations for taking the first step in the pursuit of your graduate education journey. The Graduate Open House provides a great opportunity for you to get more information about the university and its academic program offerings. Also, it offers as an opportunity for you to interact with our faculty, researchers, and staff. If you choose to pursue your graduate education at HBKU, you will be empowered with the HBKU mindset. This unique mindset will provide you with ample opportunities to deepen your knowledge in your chosen field of interest, deepen your research and critical thinking abilities, and further develop your leadership, entrepreneurial, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity skills. We wish you a productive experience at the Graduate Open House, and welcome to HBKU.
Right, well, I would like to extend my thanks to Professor Ala Fukaha, the provost of the university, for his remarks. And now I want to talk a little bit about the college itself, and just to give you an idea about the community. So the College of Humanities and Social Sciences is a graduate research college. So the programs that we offer in the college are all at the graduate studies level. And what you'll be able to be provided with is an education by faculty who are at the cutting edge of their own fields. The environment that we have is a very supportive environment. And it's one whereby, we will be able to treat you as colleagues in terms of joining us as a graduate student. You'll have opportunities to engage in collaborative research within your programs, but also with your peers as well. But also I would say that the nature of the college is one which has interdisciplinarity at the heart of it. So what you'll see from our programs is that they aim to look at multiple disciplines and draw connections between different disciplines in what they engage with in the college. But the college is very much social facing as well. So we seek to have a positive influence in the society. and also contribute in terms of research to have impactful research, both not only for scholarly purposes, but also in policy terms as well. And several of our programs have been able to achieve that, which is very important. So if I move on, I'll tell you a little bit about in the next slide, please. Yeah, so in terms of our areas of expertise, we have particular strengths that range from areas in language, communication, culture, and in addition to that, broader Middle Eastern studies. But within that, we have specific programs. Firstly, we have an area of expertise specifically within languages, and from that, we have a degree in an MA in translation for the creative industries, which you'll hear more about, and also another degree in intercultural communication. These are both at the master's level. Beyond that, we have a degree in the digital humanities area, and this is a particular area of strength within the college, but also one in women's society and development. And as you can see from this chart here, we have two departments within the college, which comprises in total 4 MA programs, 2 in the Department of Language, Culture and Communication, and another 2 in the Middle Eastern Studies Department. Now, our PhD program, our flagship PhD program, which is a program which has an exceptional amount of demand in general from the society, is one which bridges the fields of the humanities and social sciences. So essentially, you'll hear more about it from our PhD coordinator, but it allows us to cover the broad range of disciplines within the humanities and social sciences based on the expertise that exists within the college. So next slide. Now, one thing that I would highlight again is that the nature of our faculty is that they are highly cited and at the forefront of their academic fields. So this is something that you'll be able to draw from and benefit from. We have collaborative engagements across Education City, and these are ones which really allow us to leverage our expertise and have a very positive impact, as I mentioned, not only in society, but also for research and scholarship even more broadly than that. But it's a community of scholars. It's a community whereby you can be part of that enriching experience and also draw from not only the learning that you would have within your degree program, but also you'll be plugging into a broad alumni network, because we have a number of students who have graduated from the college, and they've gone into very successful positions both within Qatar and globally as well. So you'll be part of that, you could say, exclusive club. And we see that regardless whether you want to carry on to do graduate study, to do a doctoral program and become a faculty, or you want to actually use it for your professional development and go into a professional career, our degrees and what you can receive from the college is we would enable you to actually achieve even more in your professional growth. So on that note, I'll now turn to a discussion on our academic programs, and I'm pleased to introduce Professor Hassan Hakimian, who's the director of the Middle Eastern Studies Department, and he'll be talking to you about the MA in Digital Humanities and Societies in the program. So, Professor Hassan, over to you.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to have this opportunity to provide an overview of one of our premier master's programs in the college. As it was mentioned, MA in Digital Humanities and Societies is one of the 2 programs in our Middle Eastern Studies Department. Both this one and the next one, MA in Women's Society and Development, which will be shortly presented by my colleague, started in 2017. So we've had 7 cohorts graduating already. And this year, in fact, we'll be looking forward to the 8th cohort. The MA Digital Humanities, like our master's programs in general, including the ones that you will hear about after my presentation, spans over 2 years study full-time, and also there is an option for part-time study over 3 years. This is a unique program, and one which has proven to be very popular because it meets critical need in Qatar and the region at a time when our information culture is changing rapidly. We know from daily life that in recent years and decades, we have been finding access to information a lot easier, and the sheer quantity of information that we are all exposed to has also risen exponentially. At the same time, and related to that, of course, new technologies have come to the fore, which make that access both more easy, but also in some ways also challenging, because the sheer quantity of information we all have on a daily basis, and also in our research and academic studies, requires a more systematic, methodical approach. And this is where the techniques, the methods, and technologies that are now increasingly available, including, of course, AI, artificial intelligence, that has been making the headlines in the last 2 years or so, especially, come to our assistance. Until recently, a lot of textual analysis we were doing was mainly in print format, either newspapers or books. To access these, we used to go actually physically to the library. Nowadays, of course, information comes to us. Books, newspapers, commentary, and analysis come to us from the comfort of our desk and our home. And there's literally no stopping. The sheer amount, as I mentioned, is in many ways both an opportunity and a challenge. So the MA in Digital Humanities and Societies provides systematic training in the ways in which our digital culture, both at the scholarly level, those of you who have wishes and aspirations to make an academic career, as well as practitioners, if you want to enter into industries where application of digital technologies is critical and plays an important role. For instance, journalism these days without digital technologies is impossible. So this is how the exposure over a 2-year program, 4 semesters to be precise. Each semester consists of 3 courses. And the program also consists of a dissertation, which is completed before the end of the 2nd year, and roughly accounts for 25%, a quarter of the credit hours. In total, our master's programs, and this is no exception, consist of 36 credit hours. And there are also opportunities for our students to engage in internship in case they want to boost their work experience or establish or strengthen their working networks whilst in Qatar. The programs we have benefit from a strong faculty that was already mentioned by Dr. Stephen. But another very attractive feature of our program is the variety of background, the richness of background of our students. You do not need to be a graduate of a specific program in order to qualify for entry. In fact, we welcome that diversity because you bring also with you your perspectives, your experience, and your insight to the classroom. And there's a lot of learning that goes on in the classroom from peer group members. So this is a good example of one of those interdisciplinary subjects that Dr. Stephen mentioned. It's proven very successful, very popular. And as I mentioned, it's proving its worth in terms of meeting critical need, both in Qatar and in the region. I'll be very happy to deal with your questions. If you fill them in the Q&A box, I will be addressing them. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan, for those remarks. So now I'd like to invite my colleague, Dr. Dalia Mostafa, who's an associate professor in the Middle Eastern Studies Department, to talk to us about the MA in Women, Society and Development. Dr. Dalia, over to you.
Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome, and thank you for joining us today. The MA in Women's Society and Development is a formidable program because this MA actually is one of very few programs within the Arab region. So we are very proud at the College of Humanities and Social Sciences to offer this MA. And it has been established over a number of years. So very strong professors have taught on it and have solidified the syllabi for the different courses. It includes both core courses and electives, in addition to an internship after the first year during the summer. But also the students have the choice if they want to do an independent research project rather than an internship. So we focus on concerns, issues, theoretical approaches that pertain to women and gender in Qatar and the broader Middle East and North Africa. We are very focused on the region that we live in. We draw upon a huge range of scholarly works from excellent scholars, both within our region, because you would be surprised to what extent the production of knowledge in the region around women and gender has expanded and has become extremely strong, as well as, of course, theories and approaches and topics, subjects that concern the everyday life of women, men, and children in our region, of course, and in Qatar. So I'll give you an example very quickly of the courses, titles of courses that we have. So, for example, a couple of the core courses are Introduction to Women's and Gender Studies, Women, Work and Economic Development in the Middle East and North Africa. You have the opportunity to attend elective courses, 3 elective courses, and also to do a thesis at the end of your program, your studies. So it's a 2-year full-time or 3-year part-time. And of course, you will be supervised by faculty members who are working on the program. So please ask any questions you like during the discussion session. I'd be very happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dalia, for that. So we'll now turn to the MA in Intercultural Communication, and I would like to welcome my colleague, Dr. Wissam Abdul-Jabbar, to tell us a bit more about it. Dr. Wissam, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Steve. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to this open session. My name is Wissam Abdul-Jabbar, and I'm faculty in Intercultural Communication. I'll talk to you about the Master of Arts in Intercultural Communication. But before I get started, just talking about the specifics of the program, I'll let you know that the program is a 2-year program. Unless you're doing it part-time, then it takes about 3 years to complete. The second point is that the curriculum is 39 credit hours, meaning that you would be with us every afternoon from 4 to 7. And yes, we run the classes during the evening to accommodate students who have full-time jobs. So Thursdays will be just, reserved for many activities that are usually organized across the programs and at the college. I would like also to stress that the program, addresses key challenges in the humanities and social sciences in our globalized societies. So, for example, how knowledge is produced and circulated across languages, cultures, and territories, be it digital or physical. So that's one of the really overriding concerns that we address during the courses. The second aspect is that is particular to our program is that it involves students in the very practice of management, education, journalism, and communication across contexts, settings, and audiences. So students come to us, to our program, to sharpen their communication skills, to develop an understanding of the complexities of creating and sharing knowledge, ideas, concepts, and emotions across languages and cultures. So in this light, the internship that we offer and the thesis, which students do in the second year, are just, springboards for that. I also want to share with you that the MA in Intercultural Communication started just 2 years ago. So it's very new and it's unique in Qatar and probably even in the region. It's no exaggeration to say so. And it's designed to address the complexities of intercultural business and dialogue, and for developing effective intercultural competencies, policies, and practices. So students will be prepared, for example, to manage communication in the workplace across intercultural settings in profit and non-profit organizations, but also to do consulting in the public and private sectors through classes and through the internship specifically. And there's also the opportunity to, of course, to develop research methods and tools that are sensitive to cultural and language differences. So the program is very interdisciplinary in nature. So I encourage you, regardless of your research interest or bachelor's studies, to apply. It offers the capacity to blend theory and practice, and there's also the capacity to train students in highly specialized skills, and at the same time, intercultural competencies. I'd like also to say that the degree is in line with the market demands and have potential career paths. So thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Sam. That was great. And firstly, I just want to remind everyone that if you have any questions, you can pose them on the chat, and then we'll be able to address them at the very end. I'm delighted to introduce my colleague, Dr. Maria Jimenez Andres, to talk to us about the new program in the college, the MA in Translation for the Creative Industries. So Dr. Maria, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Steve. And hello, everyone. And thank you for coming to our open house. We're very happy to host you here at HBKU today. My name is Maria Jimenez, and I'm faculty in the new program in Translation for the Creative Industries. This new program builds on our two most established programs in the college. They've been running for around 10 years, and they have been a referent in the region in the field of translation and media accessibility. And this new master's responds more to the industry and its current needs, and because it's of course changed since the first programs were designed. So we have two pathways. The practical pathway, it's a bit technical, but we do not assume any prior knowledge, and we start from the basics. But students learn to subtitle. They also do audio description. They do dubbing. The new courses that this new translation program incorporates are localization, project management, gaming. So students get to learn the skills to work in all of those fields in terms of language and communication. And the research pathway is more for those who are interested in perhaps the theoretical side of translation, or want to pursue an academic career, or just want to develop their research skills. And it culminates in a thesis or in a dissertation. We also have a very state-of-the-art studio where students get to spend a lot of time honing their skills in voicing, dubbing, and audio describing as well. So you get to be there and be part of that as well. And we have strong collaborations with other organizations here in Qatar and abroad, where our students do the internships, and overall, even within the courses, get to learn from the industry and from work with organizations. And finally, I wanted to mention that if you liked any of the topics that my colleagues presented, you can also explore them while in the Masters in Translation for the Creative Industries, because you can take electives from other programs in the college. And I'll be happy to answer more questions at the end of the session.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Korea. That's great. Okay, so now we can now move on to a discussion of our PhD, and I'm delighted to introduce Professor Mehdi Riazi, who's not only the coordinator of the PhD program, he's also the Associate Dean for Research in the college. So Dr. Mehdi, would you like to talk to us about the PhD, please?
Thank you very much, Dr. Steve. A very warm welcome to our audience today, and a good evening to everyone, including my colleagues. The way that I'm going to talk about PhD program in our college is I will talk in 3 parts, hopefully very quickly. The first part is some general points that you might be interested in to know about PhD in general, and then the structure of our program, and then finally some information about the admission process. I don't know exactly how many of the participants today might be our PhD applicants, but if there are not many, still the information might be helpful and useful to master's applicants. So first, some general points. A PhD, which stands for Doctor of Philosophy, and it's used across all academic programs as they is widely recognized as the highest level of academic achievement. And earning a PhD signifies that a person has not only mastered a specific field of study, but has also made a unique contribution to that field through original research. PhD graduates are often regarded as experts, and the process of earning a PhD involves extensive study, critical thinking, problem solving, and pushes the boundaries of knowledge, which is expected from this level of scholarship. As such, then in addition to research skills, PhD students usually develop a broad range of advanced skills, including, as I mentioned before, critical thinking, academic writing, public speaking, and also for those who are interested, through presentations that they use in different courses, they develop some sort of teaching skills and speaking to the public as well. These skills are essential for success both within academia as well as later on when PhD students graduate and therefore they enter into the workplace and assume professional careers. Usually PhD students are trained to communicate complex ideas clearly and effectively. And this is required in course assignments and presentations. Also, there are some levels of management skill development because in the future, they are supposed to mentor others and to contribute meaningfully to their fields and communities. As such, PhD program is not only about earning a degree, it's also about contributing to the advancement of knowledge and addressing real-world issues. The research conducted by PhD students often leads to new insights, new theories, and solutions that can impact both academic disciplines as well as society at large. I can say actually that a PhD is not just a terminal degree, it's a gateway to a lifelong journey of learning and discovery, because once you immerse in this program, you get motivated about future research. And because of these features, then you can imply that it requires a high commitment to independent research. our PhD students actually need to embark on an independent research project, although they have the opportunity to work with their supervisors. But it's very important for them to develop, independent research abilities. So these are some general points about our PhD program. In terms of a structure, it is a 4-year full-time program and a total of 60 credit hours. Out of these 60 credit hours, 18 credit hours are for courses, which, as you can see in this slide, there are 4 core courses and 2 electives, altogether 6 courses, and each course at HBKU is defined as 3 credit hours. So 6 multiplied by 3 would be 18 credit hours for courses. The remaining credit hours, which is 42 credit hours, is all for dissertation. And this has a meaning. It means that the bulk of PhD program actually is, research and completing a dissertation. In addition to the coursework and the final dissertation that students will do, there are also 2 milestones in between, or 2 exams. The first one is qualifying exam, and the second one is candidacy exam. So after the first year, which is exclusively coursework, in the second year, in the 3rd semester and the 4th semester, students will sit for qualifying exam and candidacy exam so that they can enter into residency period and focus on their projects and complete their projects and write their dissertation and get ready for their viva. As you can see, this is a robust and well-recognized and established PhD program, and as such, every year we receive many applications, and therefore you can imagine that it's the admission process is very competitive, and therefore if you are going to apply for our PhD program, you need to ensure that you not only meet requirements, which my colleagues will discuss soon, but also you have a strong draft proposal. I say draft proposal because there would be ample opportunities for you to work with your supervisor later on to develop it into a fully fledged proposal ready to be embarked for, the project. But it's also a good idea to start working on the draft proposal, telling your readers that you have an idea, you have got a topic, a question that is worth doing a PhD around it, and that you are familiar with some, methodologies and data sources and data analysis. So if you are interested in, I encourage you to check our colleagues' profiles and see which one or ones are closer to your topic, and get in touch and try to share with them your draft proposal, and hopefully they can discuss with you, and if they are interested in your topic and there is room for admission, then they can help you come up with a draft proposal that could be put forward. Thank you for listening, and as Dr. Stephen mentioned, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mehdi, for that. That's great. So just encouraging everyone, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat function, and then we'll address them after the discussion of the admissions. So I would now like to introduce my colleague, Najla Omera, who will tell us about the admissions process. So Najla, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Stephen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your interest in attending this event. My name is Najla Omera from Postgraduate Admission Office. I will be talking about the admission process and requirements for master's and PhD programs in College of Humanities and Social Sciences. The Master's and PhD programs have two parts, eligibility and requirements. Students who are applying for master's programs should have bachelor degree from a recognized institution in relevant field, and high academic records, also high level of proficiency in English and Arabic. The second part, which is application requirements, students have to create account to fill the online application. Also, the applicant should provide the academic transcripts minimum of 3 GPA. Also, grading scale only if GPA is not out of 4. Personal statement, the student should write about his or herself and why they apply for this program. CV, identification document for international students. They should upload the passport. For the Qatari and the resident should upload the passport and Qatari ID. Also, regarding the test, the applicant should provide us with TOEFL minimum score 79 or IELTS 6.5 or official letter from university saying that their studies was on English. The applicant for MAIC and MATCI, the college may be required to complete testing in Arabic and English. Application fees is mandatory. It is 250 Qatari riyal. This is the required for master programs. For the PhD student who are applying for the PhD program need to have bachelor's and master's degree from a recognized institution in relevant field, high academic record, high level of proficiency in English. The second part, application requirement. Students have to fill the application online, academic transcript, bachelor's and master's, minimum GPA 3 out of 4, grading scale only for who doesn't have GPA out of 4, personal statement, CV, identification document, TOEFL 79 minimum score, IELTS 6.5, or official letter from universities saying that their studies was on English, 2 recommendation letter from the previous university, research proposal, application fee 250 Qatari riyal. For the timeline, for the international applications deadline, February 2nd, 2025. For Qataris and the residents who wish to apply for funding, March 13, 2025. For the late admissions for Qatari and resident, May 1st, 2025. For reaching us, please contact us through our email or our call, our office number. Regarding the tuition, second. Okay, as you can see, the tuition fees for our programs for the Master in Intercultural Communication and the Master of Translation, it is 75,000 Qatari riyals for the 2 years. The Master in Digital and Women's it's 95,000 Qatar Riyal for 2 years. For total program credit hours, 36. The PhD in Humanities and Social Sciences, it is 112,500 Qatar Riyal for 60 credit hours for 4 years. I am here. I will be here if you have any question. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Najla. That's great. That's very helpful. I just want to confirm with regard to the language of instruction in the degree programs, because I can already see like a question in the chat about that. So the language of instruction in all of the degree programs is English, and it's only in the Masters of Arts in Translation for the Creative Industries, if you do the practical track, that's where then Arabic will be an added value. And my colleague, Dr. Maria, will be able to talk more about that as well in the Q&A. But at this point, we can now have a video in terms of looking at the student affairs function, and then we can actually have the Q&A after that. So please go ahead.
قسم المشاركة الطلابية في إدارة شؤون الطلاب هو أحد الأقسام الداعمة للطلاب في جامعة حمد بن خليفة، والذي يسهم بشكل كبير في دعم الطلاب وإشراكهم وإخراطهم في الأنشطة غير الأكاديمية. هناك أنشطة رياضية، هناك أنشطة ثقافية، هناك أنشطة تعليمية، جميعها تكون خارج المنهج التعليمي، ولكن كلها يصب في النهاية نتائجها تصب في النتيجة التعليمية لكل طالب.
كل سنة الفرق عندنا عددها يكثر. عندنا لحد الآن 6 فرق رياضية، فريق كرة قدم فئة بنين، فريق كرة سلة فئة بنين وبنات، فريق كرة طائرة بنين وبنات، وعندي فريق فئة شباب كريكت.
احنا طبعا نتواصل في إدارة شؤون الطلاب من خلال إدارة التواصل المجتمعي وشؤون الطلاب مع الجامعات الشريكة الموجودة في قطر فاونديشن من خلال ما يسمى بالكارير سيرفيسز اللي هو الخدمات المهنية. قمنا في السابق في موضوع اللي هو المعرض المهني كارير فير. أيضا عملنا في السابق برنامج كان لقادة المجتمع، دعينا فيه معظم رؤساء الشركات وأيضا بعض الوزراء مثل التعرف على الجامعة وتعريفهم ببرامج الجامعة اللي تطرحها.
احنا في إدارة شؤون الطلاب نهتم خاصة في ناحية العلاقات المجتمعية كتوقيع اتفاقيات، كزيارة الشركات الخاصة والغير خاصة للتعريف عن جامعة حمد بن خليفة، وتواصل اتفاقيات من ناحية توفير فرص للطلاب أو للخريجين، أو أنك إذا شركات أو القطاع الخاص عندهم مثلا وجهات نظر كالتعاون ممكن احنا نخدمها تحت إطار اتفاقية أو تحت إطار اللي هو تعاون مشترك وياهم.
Okay, that's great. So thank you very much for that. So that now concludes the presentations on our degrees and also about the college and the university at large. So now we're going to move to the Q&A session. So please put your questions through to the chat function, and I can already see quite a number of questions. So let me start with those, and I'll engage with the ones that I know the answer to, and those which my colleagues can address better than I can, I'll hand it over to them. So the first question is, do we need Arabic language spoken and written for applying for the PhD? So I can address that. So no, you do not need Arabic language for the PhD or the master's programs. It's purely English language is the language of instruction and the requirement. But as I mentioned, the only exception to that is in the Masters of Arts in Translation for the Creative Industries. If you are going to be doing the practical track, you need to have a competency in Arabic for that. But the other track actually can be done without Arabic language. So the next question is, if I applied last year for the PhD and my application was not accepted due to the high number of students, do you suggest a change in my proposal, or should I keep the same one and reapply? So Dr. Mehdi, do you want to engage on that question?
Yes, thank you for the question. Because we have limited number of colleagues and faculty, and therefore limited number of supervision availability. So in addition to other areas of competitiveness, this is also very competitive, and therefore I urge you, as I mentioned before, to check our colleagues' profiles and see if you can adapt your topic towards their areas of specialization and interest, and get in touch with them and discuss your topic and see what feedback you get. But your question, answering your question, yes, you can apply. Although you were not admitted last year, but you can apply this year as well.
Okay. And Dr. Mehdi, we have a few more questions for the PhD, such as, can the PhD be done part-time? And do you complete the entire program in 4 years, including the dissertation exams, if you're doing it full-time?
Okay, our PhD program is 4 years full-time, extendable to 7 years, because we understand that sometimes completing the project might take a longer time. So it is extendable to 7 years. Regarding part-time, at this stage, I'm not sure if Dr. Steve, you have any information, but as of now, our program has been defined as a full-time program.
Yes, that's right. The program is defined as full-time. And really, to do a PhD, you need to be engaging with it on a full-time basis. So I think you should plan to be able to do that. But it isn't categorized as part-time, but people can take up to 7 years to do it, as Dr. Mehdi quite rightly said. So we have some more questions here about the PhD. Is what's its accreditation status, license status from the Ministry of Education in Qatar?
We are a young university, and we are going through the process for accreditation. The program has been approved by the Ministry of Education, as I understand it. We had our internal and external review of the program, which is part of documentation for accreditation, but full accreditation has not been obtained yet. It is in process.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And I can see many more questions for the PhD program. So for those of you also interested in the MA program, please put your questions in the chat. But I'll continue with this. So we've had a question here about a couple of questions about the structure, Dr. Mehdi, of the PhD program. Could you go into a bit of depth about what the qualifying and candidacy exams actually are? I mean, are they related to courses, or do they have other components? And then also some questions related to the proposal itself. How should the proposal be structured? Maybe you want to mention about the template.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Steve, and thank you everyone for raising your questions. The courses you can check actually on our webpage. As I mentioned, there are 4 core courses. If you want the names, so one is called Pro Seminar, the other one is called Advanced Research Methods, the third one is called Interdisciplinarity, the fourth one is called Doctoral Independent Course, which is a one-on-one course working with supervisors, getting prepared for qualifying exam. And in addition to these 4 core courses, students are able to get 2 elective courses in consultation with their supervisors as how they can add value to their topics and benefit from other courses. The nature of qualifying exam and candidacy exam, just a couple of minutes ago, I mentioned the internal and external review. And one of the good outcomes was there were recommendations to streamline qualifying exam because in the past, the students had some challenges with the qualifying exam. Now, qualifying exam is in fact the literature review of the PhD project. So if it is done decently and appropriately, then you can ensure that at least the first draft of the chapter of literature review of the dissertation is ready. So there are two strengths of qualifying exam. Number one is that, as I mentioned, it constitutes the backbone of the final literature review of the dissertation, but also if it is done systematically and professionally, it can also be published. And because one of the requirements for graduation is 2 publications, so it would be a good chance and opportunity for PhD students to publish their literature review as a review paper as well. So that's about qualifying exam. Regarding candidacy exam, it's a defense of the proposal. So as I again stated before, at the entrance level, at the admission level, you submit a draft proposal. And this draft proposal tells us your general topic and what you're interested to do for the project. But it needs to be developed. And there are chances that and opportunities that you can work with your supervisor over the next, the first year and also the 3rd semester, and then defend it in the 4th semester. So candidacy exam is a PhD proposal defense session.
That's great. Thanks for that, Dr. Mehdi.
Masters, there's a question on digital humanities. I'm happy to answer that, but there's also a question on the translation MA in creative industries. Maybe Dr. Maria would want to look at that. The question is about the 2 pathways, but I'll give you time to prepare for that. On the digital humanities, the question is, does the focus of the program extend to the digital landscape in the Middle East or globally? First of all, the program is flexible in the sense that it builds up on the theories, principles, techniques, and literature in a generic sense, regardless of the context in which application is made. It's the application and the context that decides your interest, and you're encouraged actually to define early on through the 2-year program, culminating in your final dissertation, what specific country, region, or area and discipline you want to apply your learnings. So you have facility, ability to apply what you learn in the context of, for instance, Qatar. Many of our dissertations focus on a particular aspect of digital humanities in Qatar, or the region more broadly, that's speaking, or a more international issue. But in reality, the world we live in, sometimes it's not so easy to draw mechanistically the dividing lines. For instance, if you're writing a dissertation or conducting your research about fake news, hate speech, or even disinformation in relation to the Gaza genocide, is that regional or is that international? Well, it's both. So, there's a lot of opportunity for you to focus on what presents itself to you as intellectually stimulating topic, and then decide about the geographical context in which you conduct your study. But of course, this is a program in the Middle East by Middle Eastern experts and for the Middle East, which is, I think, what makes it very unique. Thank you.
Thanks for that. So, Dr. Maria, we have a question regarding the MA in translation for the creative industries. and it's highlighted that it's the curriculum design is not uploaded to the website at the moment. So can you talk about the two pathways that you highlighted, and whether there's a course in legal translation? And one also related question is also again about the language requirements. Can you just reconfirm that issue for the degree?
Yeah, so as we mentioned, this program has just been approved. So we are now in the process of updating the website and so that it reflects the new program. So I think you may see that the old programs are still on the website, but as I said, soon we will be able to see the full structure of the translation for the creative industries online. But both pathways have a first common semester on more general topics in the field of translation, practice and tools, skills, and theories. And then in the second semester, students also have some core general programs courses together. And then those in the research pathway, they would do research methods and design and trends in translation studies and the creative industries. And those in the technical pathway or the practical pathway will do project management and practical trends in mediation in the creative industries. And there are some electives that are shared along the both of the pathways. And on the second year, they can do either an internship or an independent project. Those who are doing the research pathway will do a more theoretical, or they start on the thesis, and the other ones, they will do a capstone project, which is more practical. And again, they have a pool of electives that they can choose from. We are doing legal translation now, and we may still offer it next year if there is demand, but it's not at the moment offered among the pool of electives. We are doing creative writing, literary translation, localization, media translation. And as I said, students can also take courses from intercultural communication, women's studies and development, and digital humanities, which are all relevant courses for the translation program. And then in the second semester, they will either finish the thesis or do another capstone project and another elective. And regarding the language of instruction, so Arabic is a very high level of Arabic is required for the practical path. And you may be required to do a test, and colleagues who do English into Arabic translation will be assessing you if they believe that you need an exam. You may be exempt depending on what's your previous background. And for the research pathway, there are some courses that may require language, but we are in the process of trying to get optional courses for those students so that they don't have to have such a high level of Arabic or any level at all. So this is being studied as I speak. It's not been confirmed yet, but we are working so that students who don't have Arabic can do the research pathway.
That's great. Thank you for that. So I've got another question here about the language of about the IELTS and TOEFL requirements, and how they will be needed for any of the degrees. So basically, if you've completed your study at a university in a country where English is the native language, then it's possible to waive there is no requirement for IELTS for you to provide it, but you should have a letter as part of your application that has from the university showing that the medium of instruction of your degree was taught in English. So that's a key requirement that you would need to do. Of course, if you're as well as if your first language is English as well. So this is something that you need to ensure for your application. We also have another question related to the accreditation licensing. So all of the university as a whole is licensed by Qatar's Ministry of Education. So you can be assured of that. In addition, now I can see some other questions with regard to the question here about, I'm planning to complete my studies in Turkish language and literature. Could you please guide me if the MA in intercultural communication is the right choice to start my journey of master and PhD with. So, Dr. Wissam, do you want to talk, engage with that?
Dr. Steve, could you say the question again, please? Just for
I am
clarity.
planning to complete my studies in Turkish language and literature. Could you please guide me if the MA in Intercultural Communication would be the right choice to build on that?
So I presume for a PhD.
No, for the MA program.
Well, I mean, we refer to literature in bits and pieces as we go, but nothing that's really fundamentally about or core about literature, so to speak. So I highly suggest that you go over the program description and the courses and the curriculum, and maybe send me an email so I can try to understand what the point is in a more detailed manner.
That's great. Thank you. And I can see another question here about if I'm, can I apply for the MA program 3 to 4 months, within 3 to 4 months of my BA graduation? Yes, if you are still doing your bachelor's degree at the moment, you can apply for the master's programs. There's no barrier to that. But the only thing is you must make sure that by September you would have your certificate and transcript ready for the university. So that's the key requirement, that as long as you have it ready by then, you can you're eligible to apply, and we would do the we would assess your candidature based on your current grades at the moment. But the requirement would be that you have at least a 3.0 GPA equivalent by the time you enroll into the university. We have some more questions.
A few questions. Sorry to interrupt. Quite a few questions are about PhD funding. I think it is a good opportunity to inform our colleagues about that because it would help them decide whether they want to submit an application or not. Are there scholarships for PhD students, international students?
Yes, so for international students applying for all of our programs, you can select whether you wish to be considered for a scholarship at the university at the time of applying. And there are scholarships in all of our programs for international students, but I need to stress that there's a very limited number and they're highly competitive. And you will be considered based on a holistic review of your candidature at the time. But given the volume of applications that we receive for scholarship, the numbers, as I mentioned, you need to be able to show that you are exceptionally have an exceptionally high GPA for that scholarship. So it really depends on your candidature as a whole. But there are scholarships available for residents and category applicants in terms of the way of tuition fee waivers for our programs, again, on a competitive basis, and there's a limited number of those. But also for international applicants coming to Qatar, this would also then come with a wider package for the scholarship. So they are available. And again, I just want to reiterate what my colleague, Professor Mehdi, highlighted. If you are interested in doing the PhD, it's important to identify a supervisor and actually start the conversation with them based on their profile on the website. Okay, I can see another one here. I'm looking to apply for the PhD program. How much autonomy do we have in picking a topic for the PhD? So Dr. Mehdi, do you want to do that?
Yeah, and if you allow me, because there are some other questions related to PhD, I quickly go through them and give brief answers. So the first question is about the level of autonomy that PhD applicants have about choosing their topic. You have full autonomy as far as you are able to secure a potential supervisor from among our colleagues. Do you complete the entire program in 4 years, including dissertation and exams? That's true. If you plan well for the program, then there is a possibility of completing in 4 years, because the first year is coursework. The second year are the 2 exams, and there are 2 years for doing the project and finalizing and defending. However, we are living in a world that a PhD might not be our only, component in our lives. So we understand, and this is why it is usually extendable to some more years. And it was mentioned PhD is a full-time program. How often do PhD candidates successfully? Again, we haven't had any graduates yet, so I can tell you that it's a little bit challenging, but I can also assure you that, as I mentioned, so for example, if you plan your qualifying exam in a good way, that you shoot two birds with one stone, not only you complete the backbone of your literature review, but also you get a publication, you get closer to completing in 4 years. Do you need to have Arabic spoken and written to apply for the PhD? No. The language of instruction in our PhD program is English. And however, once you are here in Qatar, there is a good opportunity for everyone to improve their Arabic language if they are interested in. And we only free to select a topic in line with the available supervisors at HBKU. That's right, because at the end of the day, you need to be supervised by one of our colleagues, and therefore you need to align your chosen topic. Of course, there are rooms because our PhD is interdisciplinary, therefore our colleagues are ready to take on students who cross the borders of a specific disciplines and supervise them. But this needs to be discussed. Aligning with our professors' areas of interest and expertise is going to be very helpful. Muhammad has commented. Okay, thank you. So please look up our areas of interest. And on the website, there is no template. I will ask my colleagues to ensure that there is a template for proposal that you can download and use. The next question by Fahim relates to interdisciplinarity nature of the program, and that she is a graduate of VCU Arts and have a certificate in design from HEC. So how can someone of my background fit into the program? I can tell you that currently at least we have 2 graduates of VCU, if I'm not mistaken, and Dr. Dalia, our colleague, is supervising them. And I think their topic are related to fashion. And Dr. Dalia, do you remember the topics of your PhD students?
Yes, of course, I do. So two students actually are designers. They produce design work here in Qatar, and their PhDs revolve around design and women's production in Qatar in particular, also design and handicrafts. So we do have within our cohort of PhD students those who are interested in arts, in literature, in cinema, and cultures, cultural production in general. So those who are attending with us, if you are wanting to pursue your degree in these areas, of course, the College of Humanities is the home for such topics.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Dalia. And then the next question is, what would be class times? The class time is 4 to 7 p.m. On weekdays. And could you work full-time and complete your PhD? We do have some students who are working full-time, and then they attend the classes in the evening. However, we don't recommend that because, as my colleagues mentioned, is a full-time commitment, and our experience tells us that those who devote full-time to the PhD program perhaps are more successful. What are the relevant specific academic background that is favored or needed? Again, you can refer to the profiles of our colleagues. Is the PhD certified from the Ministry of Education? I think the answer is yes, and we mentioned that. Can I work in HBKU after I finish my PhD? One of the prospects of the PhD programs is to assume academic roles at the universities as a faculty member. So in principle, yes. However, any position and job has its own competitive process, and therefore you need to find out about that. Can we apply to multiple programs at the same time? I think this question is for Dr. Steve or other colleagues, perhaps.
Yes, it is possible to apply for multiple programs, but you would need to select your choice.
Can I answer? It is a maximum
Sure.
2 programs. Maximum 2 programs.
Thank you for that, Najla. So maximum of 2 programs. Okay, so we can maybe look at some other questions we're receiving. I mean, there's quite a lot of people asking about the PhD, but this is to be expected. It's really one of our most popular degrees in general. But if you have any more questions for the MA programs, please put them in the chat.
Yeah.
So
Can I
go ahead, Dr.
answer a couple of more questions? Yes, Samira tells us that she's interested for the PhD program and wants to know if her background is eligible because she has got a MS and BS in psychology. Now, because we don't have, a program in psychology, but I can tell you that you need to find out how you can use your background and relate your background to a topic that lends itself to interdisciplinarity and perhaps design your study in a way that you can benefit from your background. The next question, what are the prospects of securing PhD funding through a scholarship? As Dr. Stephen explained, it's a competitive process. So you apply and you request for a scholarship, and then the applications actually go through a rigorous screening, and finally those who are shortlisted will be interviewed by a panel of colleagues, and then finally based on the outcomes of the documents as well as the interviews, scholarships are given. And I have a Master of Art in English. Can I apply for a PhD program? As my colleague Dr. Dalia mentioned, if it is related to literature, then that's a possibility. How many hours do one need to commit to complete a full-time PhD? If you're thinking about the courseworks, there is a 3-hour attendance in person, and then our estimation is that for each credit hours, there needs to be at least around 5 hours work to prepare, to complete assignments and other things. So all in all, if you register, which is usually the case for 3 courses each semester, you have 9 credit hours or 9 hours of course attendance, and then you need to at least invest between around 20-25 hours completing the required tasks. And okay, as a dedicated researcher with a deep commitment to contributing to interdisciplinary studies. Could you kindly provide guidance on the key attributes or achievements that distinguish successful candidates for full funding? Yeah, I can refer to some of these. High academic, records in BA and master programs. If you are sitting for English tests, TOEFL or IELTS, high scores on TOEFL and IELTS. Also proposal, there is a proposal that can be built on and dependent, and some indications of written and oral proficiency in the language, because as you can imagine, a PhD program is highly demanding, and you need to have oral and written production, not only for the exams but also within the courses. If there are any other attributes, my colleagues can help me and add those attributes as well. And Jawahir has asked regarding PhD, are the faculty list exclusive for the PhD or faculty under the College of Humanities and so can be approached? We don't have exclusive faculty members for PhD, so those who see on our college web page and website are potential supervisors, and usually our colleagues work both at the master's level as well as the PhD. And I hope that I answered. There is one again by Samira. Could you explain how funding works for PhD candidates? How much funding can a candidate receive, and what are the criteria for receiving high funding? How much a stipend does HBKU give their PhD candidates? Dr. Stephen, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, it's we give around 12,000 Qatar riyals for the stipend for the scholarship for those students who actually are international and applying and receive it. But this will be communicated if you're successful with the scholarship. But it's enough to cover your tuition fees and also a living allowance as well. I can see more questions. Just a few more questions with the PhD. I think we've got through most of them so far, Dr. Mehdi. But just as point to everyone, if you have any questions about the specific programs, even after we finish this session, you can contact the program coordinators with an email directly after the session. And of course, email addresses are available on our website. And for the PhD program, I can see some queries about the research proposal. Likewise, any questions specifically about that, please reach out to Dr. Mehdi, and his team will get back to you and provide you that guidance. And likewise, the topic areas that are being discussed about research topics, research interests, when you looked at the profiles of the faculty in the college, you can reach out to the faculty and discuss whether it's something that they would in principle be willing to supervise. But that does not necessarily guarantee you will be accepted because it's a competitive process and we only accept a limited number of students on each year.
Okay, one question was about can applicants approach more than one faculty member? Yes, you can approach more than one. And the other question, is it a possibility to have advisors in the committee for PhD candidates from other QF universities? Yes, that's a possibility. Currently, we have some applicants. But the principal supervisor usually would be a College of Humanities and Social Sciences supervisor, but there is a possibility of having co-supervisors from other entities. And how many applicants do you accept a year for the PhD program? It varies and ranges between 5 to 10. depending on the number of applications, the number of shortlisted, the number of applicants that meet our criteria, and also we can accommodate their topics and supervisors. So typically, Dr. Stephen has responded that usually between 5 to 10, 12. During the PhD program, do we also have teaching assisting hours as part of our program? There is now HBKU policy that those who receive a scholarship with a stipend, they have to commit 10 hours per week, either as teaching assistants or research assistants. For those who only get tuition waivers, they don't have this commitment, but they can avail themselves as research assistants, because usually there are research projects running by our colleagues, and usually they look for research assistants, and therefore PhD and master's students are usually potential assistants. Do we have option for PhD fully funded scholarship for foreigners resident living in Qatar? And no, international means they are not living in Qatar. For residents and Qataris, there is another scheme, as my colleague Dr. Stephen explained, that it's mostly a tuition waiver. And
I think just one more question, Dr. Mehdi, is about, could you specify the quartile ranking of the journals that is typically expected or required for the PhD publication, given that we have a PhD publication requirement?
Yes, the current HBKU policy requires PhD students to have 2 publications before they defend their dissertation. We are now working on some strategies to help PhD students. As I mentioned, one of them, for example, would be to work the qualifying exam in a decent way, so that it could be published as a review paper, and therefore securing one of the publications. The other strategy is that as soon as the first batch of data are collected for the project, there is the possibility of working on it and creating a paper that could be published, but there are other opportunities as well.
Okay, so I see one more question here. Maybe Najla, if you don't mind answering this, it's about the timelines in terms of the and the process for students. Will they receive a rejection email if they're not successful? I mean, will they know about the outcome of their application and so forth?
Sorry again, Dr. Stephen.
The question is, will students receive notification if they are not successful?
Yeah, after the deadline, maybe it will be on May or June.
Okay, but the applications will be processed during the early part of next year. So this is where you're going to be, we'll be continuing with it. But I would encourage you, if you've not applied already, to apply. And then this is when then we'll be applying, we'll be doing the applications on a rolling basis for all of the programs. So if anyone has any final questions for my colleagues who are dealing with the master's programs, now's your opportunity before we wrap up. But I'll just ask any of my colleagues if they have anything that they would like to add, which they haven't done so already, before we can wrap up. No? Okay, so on that basis, I think we've addressed all of the questions so far that have come through. So I just want to thank all of you for attending today's open house. Please reach out to any of the faculty here. We're here to answer questions for you. You can email us directly. We'll be happy to give you guidance and support during your application process. And we look forward to welcoming you in the college in the end of August 2025 to join us for the new academic semester. Thank you again for joining us, and we wish you a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and all the best.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.